Gently, he whispered a soft plea. He begged them not to bite there. The voice was gentle, almost a sweet murmur. Ethan put the back of his hand to his lips. He simulated the sound of a deep kiss. The moist sound was intimate and lingering. His side job was voice acting. This new dual protagonist script had many tense moments. It also contained several steamy scenes. He only dared to record when his roommate was gone. The dorm room had to be completely empty. He was lost in the character's persona. Suddenly, a heavy kick struck the door. A cold voice slammed into his concentration. It demanded to know who Ethan was with inside. Kyler's voice held an unfamiliar harshness. He had never sounded so soft for Kyler. The voice told the other man to leave. He claimed he was better. Kyler yelled for him to open the door. His shouts grew louder with each second. Ethan feared he would attract other students. He did not want anyone to know his embarrassing secret. The rapid knocking on the door was deafening. He scrambled to put away his recording equipment. When he finally opened the door, Kyler stormed in. Kyler's face was a dark mask of anger. He scanned the small room for another person. Ethan nervously touched his nose. He explained that no one else was there. He claimed he was just watching a movie. Kyler accused him of lying. He insisted he would recognize Ethan's voice anywhere. Kyler began angrily searching the room. He overturned drawers and checked closets. He even searched the small balcony. He found nothing. This seemed to make him even more furious. Kyler demanded to know where the lover was hidden. Ethan insisted he was alone in the dorm. He felt helpless against Kyler's persistent accusations. Kyler remained suspicious, his face dark. He took a step closer to Ethan. He warned Ethan against cheating on him. He promised there would be consequences. Ethan stated they had already broken up. Kyler's eyes turned icy. He demanded a clear reason for their breakup. Ethan repeated his old excuse about his studies. Kyler questioned if college still affected his grades. Ethan faltered, searching for a new reason. He finally declared he no longer liked him. Kyler's expression became intensely cold. The pressure in the room was immense. It made Ethan feel deeply uncomfortable. Thankfully, his roommate Liam returned from class. Liam called out Ethan's name cheerfully. He had bought some cherries for Ethan. He remembered Ethan couldn't find any last time. Liam happily handed him the container. He noticed the stranger standing very close. A slight frown crossed Liam's face. Ethan quickly pushed Kyler away. He explained that Kyler was just borrowing a book. Kyler's mood soured further upon seeing Liam. He let out a cold snort. He turned and walked towards the door. As he passed, his voice was a chilling whisper. He advised Ethan to hide his lover well. He warned that he would not be happy if he found him. Ethan and Kyler had a tangled history from high school. Kyler was the notorious campus jock. His academics were average, but he played lacrosse exceptionally well. The girls were all captivated by him. Ethan's desk mate asked him to deliver a love letter. Kyler was in the next classroom. After evening study hall, Ethan snuck over. He quietly placed the letter in Kyler's desk. He did not expect what happened next. He turned around and collided with Kyler. Kyler was holding a lacrosse stick. His features were handsome but sharp. His eyes looked fierce when he wasn't smiling. Ethan was scared and tried to run. Kyler grabbed his arm, stopping him. He asked if Ethan liked him. He said Ethan should have just told him directly. Kyler looked at him with a playful smirk. His eyes were full of amusement. Ethan realized he had misunderstood the situation. The next day, Kyler found him. He must have read the signature on the letter. He came to Ethan's class looking for a confrontation. Ethan ignored him completely. This only seemed to encourage Kyler. He teased the star student for being silent. Then he declared he would pursue Ethan instead. He took Ethan's silence as acceptance. Ethan had never been strictly straight. Kyler was also very charming. They ended up together in a whirlwind romance. His time with Kyler was genuinely happy, but their relationship only lasted 3 months. Ethan initiated the breakup. His reason was not wanting to affect his studies. Even after so long, he remembered Kyler's pained expression. Kyler had told him not to regret it. Now it seemed Kyler was the one with regrets. Kyler was on the Landon University lacrosse team. His training schedule was demanding, but for some reason Ethan saw him everywhere. He would run into him at the cafeteria. He would see him while jogging on the track. They even met in the academic buildings. When their eyes met, Kyler would raise an eyebrow. His gaze was always bold and challenging. Felt like Kyler was constantly watching him. That afternoon, Ethan went to the activity room. He was rehearsing with the class president, Jason. Ethan was a vocal performance major. Their class was preparing a sound effects show for the festival. He struggled with simulating a baby's cry. Jason showed him how to press his tongue against his palate. His pronunciation was still off. Jason used a cotton swab to guide his tongue. He advised him to try using a breathy tone. He told him not to force it. He was very close as he spoke. His body almost completely shielded Ethan from view. Ethan tried again. It sounded much better than before. A female student's voice came from the doorway. She asked a handsome guy who he was looking for. Ethan turned his head. He met Kyler's dark, brooding eyes. He had no idea how long Kyler had been watching. It was time for dinner. Everyone started leaving for the cafeteria. Kyler blocked Ethan's path. He handed him a takeout container. He explained there was extra food from a team dinner. The aroma of beef and asparagus filled the air. It was one of Ethan's favorite dishes. A container of fresh cherries sat on top. It didn't look like an accidental extra order. Ethan wanted to refuse, but Kyler stood firmly in the doorway. It seemed he wouldn't leave until Ethan accepted. Under Kyler's intense gaze, Ethan ate the meal. He tried one of the cherries. Kyler suddenly asked if it was sweet. Ethan confirmed that it was. Kyler's eyes fixed on his lips. He abruptly stood and moved closer. He trapped Ethan between the desk and his body. His long fingers pressed against Ethan's mouth. His thumb pushed forcefully against his tongue. He asked if Jason was the lover from the dorm. Ethan mumbled that he wasn't. The dark cherry juice trickled down his chin. Kyler's voice grew even colder. He demanded the truth. Ethan insisted it wasn't Jason. Laughter from other students drifted in from outside. People were walking past the room. Kyler didn't seem to care at all. He leaned in closer. He looked like he wanted to lick the juice from his chin. Ethan bit down hard on his finger. He pushed Kyler away with all his might. He asked why Kyler kept bothering him. He said this was pointless. Kyler stared at the bite mark on his fingertip. He rubbed it thoughtfully. He said that if Ethan bit him, he should bite back. Kyler grabbed the back of Ethan's head. He leaned in to kiss him. Ethan quickly turned his head away. He reminded Kyler they were broken up. He said this crossed a line. Kyler simply asked, "So what?" He told Ethan that if he couldn't be happy, neither could Ethan. He bit Ethan's lip forcefully. The sweetness of the cherry was stolen from him. One of Kyler's hands gripped his waist tightly. It was a cruel, possessive embrace. From a distance, Jason's voice approached. They were returning from dinner. Kyler noticed Ethan's resistance. He tightened his grip on Ethan's wrist. He pressed his body even closer. Ethan could feel an intense heat radiating from him. He cursed Kyler under his breath. He struggled, telling him to let go. His words were muffled against Kyler's mouth. He was about to bite him again. Kyler skillfully pulled back. His lips brushed against Ethan's cheek. His breath was hot and intimate. He told Ethan to beg him in that sweet voice from the dorm. Then he would let him go. That voice was for a script. He couldn't possibly say those things to Kyler. Kyler pressed him, asking what was wrong. He wondered why Ethan wouldn't say it for him. Kyler stared at him, clearly displeased. His fingers wandered over the small of Ethan's back. Jason's footsteps were getting closer. Ethan's heart pounded in his chest. He felt like he was on the edge of a cliff. The tormentor whispered in his ear, playful, wicked threat. Kyler said if he didn't speak, he'd continue in front of them. Ethan's fingers trembled with anxiety. His eyes started to well up with moisture. Kyler pinched his cheek. A mischievous smirk played on his lips. He asked if Ethan was about to cry. He teased that he hadn't even started yet. Ethan glared at him. He told Kyler he was incredibly annoying. Kyler replied that he should stay annoyed. He liked seeing Ethan on the verge of tears. Kyler casually straightened Ethan's collar. He wiped the smudged juice from his mouth. Just a second before Jason opened the door, Kyler released him. He picked up the empty food container. He turned to leave. As he left, Kyler squeezed Ethan's fingers. Felt like a final. For the next week, Kyler was always there. He attended every rehearsal session in the activity room. Whenever Jason got too close, Kyler would cough loudly. The practice would be interrupted. Ethan shot Kyler an annoyed look. He couldn't make him leave. He was just so frustrating. Jason met Kyler's gaze from across the room. He smiled at Ethan. He commented that Ethan's friend was very clingy. He came to watch him every day. Ethan claimed Kyler was just bored. He told Jason to ignore him. Jason's smile was knowing. He continued the rehearsal. The day of the university festival arrived. The campus was bustling with energy. Visitors from outside the school were everywhere. Ethan's father, Mr. Wallace, also came. Ethan froze when he received his father's text. He was backstage preparing for the show. He felt completely distracted. He deeply disliked his father's presence in his life. Every glance from him felt like a chain. While turning a corner, a classmate spilled coffee on his costume. The student apologized profusely. It was actually Ethan's fault for not paying attention. He shook his head and said it was fine. He hurried to find Jason for a replacement costume. Jason searched through the rack. He regretfully said this was the only similar one, but the size was a bit small. Ethan said it was okay and that he would try it. He took off his jacket to put it on. The costume was a French-style valet uniform. It looked simple but was difficult to wear. Jason helped him with the buttons. He noticed Ethan's nervousness. He told him to take a deep breath. Various problems were popping up backstage. The student council president called Jason away. Ethan was left alone in the dressing room. A short ribbon on the back of the shirt was hard to reach. He couldn't tie it himself. He also couldn't pull up the zipper. He was struggling with the costume. The door behind him opened. He turned, expecting to see Jason. He was about to ask for help. Instead, he saw Kyler leaning casually in the doorway. Ethan wasn't fully dressed. A large part of his back was exposed. Kyler glanced at him and raised an eyebrow. He asked why Ethan looked so disappointed to see him. Kyler grabbed the ribbon behind him. He offered to help fasten it. His cool fingertips brushed against Ethan's spine. A shiver ran through Ethan's body. He quickly stepped back, creating distance. He told Kyler he didn't need his help. Kyler chuckled. He pointed out that Jason was busy helping others. He said Jason couldn't attend to him now. He playfully toyed with the lace trim of Ethan's shirt. He reminded Ethan that the performance was starting soon. After some hesitation, Ethan turned around. He let Kyler help with the complicated costume. With his back to Kyler, he could only feel his movements. The knuckles of Kyler's fingers pressed against his back. The zipper was pulled up. Kyler then held the ribbons. He suddenly stopped moving. Ethan asked if he was finished. He tried to turn, but Kyler held him. Kyler wrapped his arms around him from behind. He asked if Ethan wished Jason were here instead. Ethan denied it. Kyler then asked who the man in his dorm room was. Ethan felt a headache coming on. He insisted there was no one. Kyler didn't believe him. He thought Ethan was just being evasive. He pressed for an answer. Ethan tried to push him away. Kyler grabbed his wrists. He used the costume's silk ribbons. He tied Ethan's hands together. Ethan demanded to know what he was doing. He told Kyler to stop acting crazy. Kyler demanded the truth about who Ethan liked. Ethan repeated that he was telling the truth. The costume was too tight. He couldn't struggle without risking tearing it. His wrists were turning red from the strain. Kyler pushed him against the back of the door. His eyes roamed over Ethan's body. Something seemed to catch his attention. His gaze grew darker and more intense. He told Ethan he looked good in the outfit, especially with his hands tied. He paused, searching for the right words. He said it gave him a special quality. It made him want to tease and torment him. Ethan called him a bastard. He kicked at Kyler's leg. Kyler just laughed in response. He leaned in and kissed him. The form-fitting costume made it easy for him. Kyler held his waist tightly. Ethan was completely unable to move. The atmosphere in the small room grew heated. The landline phone on a nearby table rang. Kyler irritably pulled the phone from Ethan's pocket. Ethan saw the caller ID, Mr. Wallace. His face instantly turned pale. He subconsciously squeezed his thumb. He begged Kyler to hang up the phone. Kyler just smiled teasingly. He asked if Ethan was afraid of their relationship being discovered. His fingers roamed Ethan's waist. His other thumb hovered over the answer button. He told Ethan to kiss him. Then he would do as he asked. Feeling desperate, Ethan touched his cheek. Kyler's smile widened. He became more demanding. He wanted a real kiss on the lips. He pointed to his own mouth. This person loved to tease him. He might not even keep his promise. Ethan bit his lip in frustration and anger. Kyler winced in pain. Ethan had almost drawn blood. Kyler complained that he was vicious. He wondered when Ethan had become so fond of biting. Mr. Wallace's call came through again. Kyler sneered, his finger moving to the green button. Ethan's pupils constricted in fear. Tears welled up in his eyes. He was stunned. Kyler quickly hung up the phone. He asked Ethan what was wrong. He told him not to cry, that it was just a joke. Ethan looked at him with red, tear-filled eyes. He looked incredibly hurt. For a moment, Kyler was frozen. Then he quickly untied Ethan's hands. He hugged him tightly. He gently stroked his hair, trying to soothe him. He apologized repeatedly. He promised not to scare him like that again. Ethan pushed him away, wiping his tears. He called Kyler a bastard. He said he was annoying and he never wanted to see him again. Kyler's voice turned cold. He asked Ethan to repeat himself. Ethan said it wouldn't change. Kyler disgusted him. Kyler stared at him with dark, unreadable eyes. Someone from outside called for Ethan to come on stage. Kyler emotionlessly stuffed the phone back into Ethan's pocket. He turned and left without another word. When Ethan went on stage, he saw his father. Mr. Wallace had chosen a seat with a perfect view. Ethan avoided his gaze. His eyes drifted to the lacrosse team's seating area. Kyler wasn't there. Jason gently reminded him the performance was starting. Ethan forced his attention back to the stage. He was distracted throughout the entire performance. He didn't perform at his usual level. After the show, the audience applauded loudly. He walked off stage like a programmed robot. After the festival, Mr. Wallace took him to the cafeteria. Ethan had no appetite. Mr. Wallace ordered spinach. He kept telling Ethan to eat more of it. Ethan hated spinach more than anything. He gripped his chopsticks tightly. He kept his head down. Mr. Wallace asked why he didn't answer his call earlier. Ethan claimed it was too noisy backstage. His father then asked about his studies. He inquired if he was facing any difficulties. He looked at Ethan with a kind expression, as if he genuinely cared. Ethan said everything was fine. Mr. Wallace noticed he wasn't eating. He put some spinach in Ethan's bowl. He told him to eat. When he was a child, disobedience was met with a cane. The long-term abuse had its effect. Even as an adult, he didn't dare defy his father. He forced the spinach into his mouth. The bitter taste made him feel sick. He squeezed his thumb, a nervous habit. He fought the urge to vomit. He had to force a thank you to his father. Kyler finally stopped harassing him. Ethan found himself zoning out more often in class. Jason said he seemed impatient during practice lately. He told him to calm down and focus. Ethan felt he was acting normally. He couldn't figure out what was wrong. He left the music room. The setting sun cast a harsh glare. He was about to order some takeout. Then he saw Kyler's post on social media. It was a picture of the campus health clinic. The caption said he injured his arm during practice. His coach had yelled at him. Ethan closed his phone with a blank expression. He decided to get something simple from the cafeteria, but his feet carried him somewhere else. He found himself standing outside the clinic. He bought some medicine. He peeked into Kyler's room from the doorway. Kyler's arm was already bandaged. He was resting on the bed. Kyler was a tall, strong guy, but he had a very low tolerance for pain. Back in high school, he insisted Ethan go with him for a vaccine. Other girls didn't even flinch, but Kyler had clung to him, hiding his face. While Kyler was in the restroom, Ethan snuck in. He left the medicine on his bed. Even if they weren't together, he wished him well. In the evening, he went for a run on the track. The sky was getting dark. The track was crowded with students. He couldn't see faces clearly in the dim light, but he immediately recognized Kyler near the stands. He was wearing a black tracksuit. His posture was tall and straight. Ethan would know him anywhere. Another guy was talking to him. He was holding a phone, likely asking for his number. Kyler was still so popular. Ethan looked away. He picked up his pace. On his second lap, the two were gone. He glanced around, feeling a bit disappointed. Had they left together? As he was thinking, a clear voice came from behind. It asked what he was looking for. The voice teased, wondering if it was him. Ethan jumped, startled. He turned to find Kyler jogging behind him. Kyler kept a steady distance. He was perfectly stepping on Ethan's shadow. Ethan denied looking for anything. He told Kyler not to be so conceited. He then started running faster. Kyler matched his pace effortlessly. No matter how fast Ethan ran, Kyler kept up. He even gave Ethan a challenging smile. His breathing was perfectly even. Kyler was an athlete in peak condition. Ethan couldn't compete with him. Soon he was out of breath and stopped. He asked Kyler why he was following him. He pointed out Kyler was injured. Running could make it worse. Kyler asked how he knew he was injured. He accused Ethan of secretly following him. Ethan was flustered. He turned to leave. Kyler blocked his path. His tone lightened. He teased that someone said they didn't want to see him. He called him a hypocrite. Ethan insisted he wasn't. Kyler then asked who left medicine on his bed. Ethan suggested it could be a teammate, or perhaps an admirer. Kyler suddenly laughed. His eyes were full of mischief. He revealed that his social media post was visible only to Ethan. Ethan froze. He was at a loss for words. He realized Kyler had set a trap for him. He felt like a cornered cat. He tried to push past Kyler and escape. Kyler stopped him. He told him to just admit he was worried. He asked why he had to be so indirect. Ethan insisted he was just passing by. Kyler laughed. He sarcastically agreed about passing by. He mentioned the long walk across campus to deliver medicine. Ethan's ears burned with embarrassment. He ran off the track. The next day, Kyler was waiting for him after class. That shameless person immediately became clingy again. He had sensed a tiny opening. Kyler waited for him every day. They went to meals together. Even if Ethan ignored him, Kyler followed silently. Other students started to notice. Several girls watched them with knowing smiles. Ethan told Kyler to stop coming, but he wouldn't listen. His arm was injured. His training was less intense, leaving him with more free time. After his last class, Ethan walked out. That tall figure was leaning against the railing. The orange sunlight fell on his shoulders. For a moment, it transported Ethan back to high school. Back then, Kyler was even more rebellious. But he had always spoken to Ethan with a gentle voice. Ethan was lost in thought for a few seconds. Suddenly, a girl from the piano class ran towards Kyler. She looked shy. She said something to him. Ethan could guess what it was about. Kyler had been approached more times than Ethan had eaten cherries. Kyler said something in return. The girl looked back at Ethan. She walked away looking dejected. Kyler walked over to Ethan. He handed him a bottle of blueberry-flavored milk. It was his favorite. Ethan asked what he had told the girl. Kyler said he told her he was pursuing Ethan. Ethan stared at him, flustered. He couldn't believe how blunt Kyler was. Didn't he worry about what people would say? Kyler pinched his cheek and laughed. He asked why he was so nervous. He wondered if his love for him was something to be ashamed of. It wasn't, but Ethan rarely saw gay people be so open. Subconsciously, he envied Kyler's honesty. He told Kyler not to say such things. He worried about him being targeted. Kyler raised an eyebrow confidently. He asked if Ethan was worried about him. He said the solution was to get back together. He claimed he only listened to his boyfriend. Another one of his traps. Ethan ignored him. He took a sip of the milk. A little got on his lip. He licked it off. Kyler stared at him intently. His gaze was strange. Ethan asked what he was looking at. Kyler's stare made him uncomfortable. He turned to leave. Kyler caught up in a few steps. He offered to buy Ethan some ice cream. Ethan questioned eating ice cream in the cold. He asked if Kyler was okay. Kyler said he felt quite hot. He reached out to pinch Ethan's cheek again. Ethan dodged his hand. Kyler's long fingers froze in midair. He pressed his lips together. He lowered his hand, looking disappointed. A few weeks later, Kyler's arm healed. He became busy with training again. Ethan's life became quiet for a few days. It was what he wanted. But near the end of class, he always looked out the window. The tall figure was no longer leaning against the railing. For half a month, he didn't see Kyler at all. It made sense. His cold attitude would drive anyone away. At the end of the month, it was his birthday. Classmates sent him their best wishes. All day, there was no message from Kyler. Had he finally decided to give up? Ethan felt a strange mix of emotions. It was like a palette of swirling, indistinguishable colors. In the evening, he went out with his roommates. They bought him a cake. He enjoyed the dinner with them, but he felt like something was missing. As he was cutting the cake, Kyler texted him. He said he had a surprise for him. Ethan's heart skipped a beat. A smile spread across his face. Liam saw his expression. He asked if Ethan was secretly dating someone. Ethan quickly denied it. After dinner, he rushed to the small pond on campus. In the summer, it was full of lotus flowers. Now in late autumn, it was bare. He stood on the small bridge looking around. Suddenly, the opposite bank lit up. A large banyan tree was covered in tiny white lights. It looked like a magical glowing tree from an anime. Kyler waved at him from under the tree. He was holding a small, glowing blue fish tank. On closer inspection, there were no fish inside. Floating gracefully in the tank were blue jellyfish. Ethan's heart fluttered. In high school, Kyler had asked what pet he wanted. He had said jellyfish. His phone rang. It was Kyler. Ethan answered with a smile. He pointed out their proximity. He said he could just walk over. Kyler's cheerful voice had a hint of nervousness. He said he might not be able to say these things face to face. Ethan paused. He realized what was happening. A clear, serious voice came through the phone. Kyler confessed he had liked him since high school. He didn't know why Ethan broke up with him, but he asked for another chance. He promised he wouldn't disappoint him this time. Ethan's heart was racing. This wasn't the first time Kyler had asked him back. Kyler had also sought him out after their college entrance exams. But Ethan had ignored him. He suddenly realized something. Kyler was always the one walking towards him. The bright, confident boy never hid his feelings. He was always direct and passionate with him. Ethan smiled. He already knew his answer. Kyler asked if he was still listening. Ethan confirmed, promising to tell him his answer soon. He hung up the phone. He took a deep breath. He was about to cross the bridge to tell Kyler in person. His phone buzzed with a new message. It was from Mr. Wallace. His father had heard from a classmate. He knew Ethan was spending time with Kyler. He asked why he was still in contact with him. He reminded Ethan of his past. He asked if Ethan wanted to ruin Kyler's life. Ethan froze. When did his father invade his social circle? Or had he been watching him all along? Past memories flooded his mind. His hands began to tremble. Kyler was just across the bridge. But he knew it was a gap he could never cross. He whispered an apology to Kyler. He turned and walked away. Thankfully, the pond separated them. Kyler couldn't see his devastated expression. Kyler watched his retreating figure in confusion. He called Ethan's phone repeatedly. Ethan silenced it and went back to his dorm. Mr. Wallace called. His first words were a cold interrogation. He demanded to know where Ethan was. He accused him of being with that boy again. Ethan denied it, saying it was just a rumor. His father's voice was stern. He said being gay was a shameful disease. He forbade Ethan from such behavior. Ethan tried to stay calm. He squeezed his thumb, a familiar coping mechanism. The accusations continued relentlessly. He gripped his phone tightly. He wished he could smash it to silence the voice. After getting a submissive reply, Mr. Wallace seemed satisfied. He reminded Ethan that he was his son. He told him not to bring shame to the family. He said Ethan had promised to be obedient. He gave a few more instructions. Then he hung up coldly. But today was his birthday. His own father was the only one who didn't remember. When he was young, his parents divorced. His father fought for his custody. He wanted to prove his decision was right. He wanted to show his ex-wife he could raise Ethan alone. He was always strict with Ethan. He wanted him to be his perfect creation. But Ethan had disappointed him from a young age. He liked boys. It went against everything his father believed. He carefully hid his secret. His father controlled every aspect of his life, from his meals to his friends. Everything was meticulously curated. After every lecture, a rebellious urge grew inside him. He wanted to break free from the invisible chains. Once, during a power outage, he snuck out to an internet cafe. He ate greasy barbecue. He drank the coldest soda. His stomach hurt, but he felt liberated. It was like a suffocating fish getting a gasp of air. In his third year of middle school, a boy wrote him a love letter. He was a quiet boy who sat in the back. Ethan didn't know why he liked him. Maybe it was a small act of kindness, or because he had helped him with math. Ethan politely thanked him and declined. The letter was hidden in a corner of his room. But Mr. Wallace found it. His room was never allowed to be locked. His father could enter at will. He couldn't even keep a diary because his father would read it. This invasion of privacy enraged his father. He assumed Ethan's grades weren't improving because of this relationship. He beat him severely. He went to the school and accused the other boy of being gay. He claimed his son was being corrupted. Ethan was pale with shame. He apologized to the boy over and over. The boy never responded. He later took a year off from school due to depression. Ethan never saw him again. He followed his father's plan. He got into the best high school. Kyler was the most rebellious student there, but Ethan envied his freedom. One day, Kyler convinced him to skip gym class. They were looking at the ocean. Kyler suddenly confessed his feelings. He tried to act casual, but the redness of his ears betrayed him. Ethan could have suppressed his feelings, but Kyler was a breath of fresh air in his suffocating life. In a moment of weakness, he agreed. A year before the college entrance exams, his father's control tightened. One night, he saw Kyler walking Ethan home. He demanded an explanation. Ethan made up a quick lie. His father was suspicious. He started picking him up from school every day. The second time he asked about Kyler, calling him a punk, Ethan knew the relationship had to end. He didn't want Kyler to get hurt. He chose to distance himself. 2 years later, he made the same choice again. After his birthday, Kyler stopped calling. Ethan didn't run into him on campus either. It was as if he had vanished from his life. For the first time, he realized how big the university was. 2 people could go a month without seeing each other. The 6th cafeteria opened a new spicy soup place. It was very popular. Liam dragged him there to try it. While in line, he saw Kyler. He seemed to be about to get in line too. Kyler glanced at him. His expression was indifferent. He turned and walked away. A pang of hurt hit Ethan's chest. He watched until Kyler was out of sight. This was what he deserved. The spicy soup was tasteless. His throat felt bitter. Liam looked at him with concern. He asked why Ethan's eyes were red. Ethan blamed it on the spicy food. He forced a smile and swallowed his tears. New Year's Eve was approaching. Jason organized a class dinner. They went to a restaurant across from the school. When Ethan was getting drinks at the front, he saw a familiar figure. It was Kyler, talking to another guy near the revolving door. The guy had brown hair and looked familiar. It was the same one who asked for Kyler's number on the track. He seemed to have had too much to drink. His face was flushed. He was tugging on Kyler's sleeve, acting cute. Kyler steadied him. Then, as if sensing something, Kyler looked over. Their eyes met unexpectedly. Ethan froze for a second. He quickly looked away. He grabbed 2 bottles of soda and returned to their private room. Jason noticed his strange expression. He asked if he was feeling unwell. Ethan shook his head. He downed his glass of wine in one go. Jason frowned. He reminded Ethan that he was a lightweight. Ethan insisted he was fine, claiming it was a happy occasion. Jason pointed out that he didn't look happy at all. Was he? If Kyler started a new life, he should be happy for him. Without him, Kyler's future was secure. He lowered his eyes and drank silently. The dinner ended. He felt dizzy as he walked out. Jason went to pay the bill. The other students were excitedly planning to go to a bar. Ethan wasn't interested. His eyes kept darting towards the entrance. The revolving door was empty. Had Kyler taken that guy home? He told his classmates he wasn't feeling well. He said he was going back to the dorm. He stepped outside into the cold air. A gust of wind made him sneeze. An impatient voice spoke up. It chided him for not wearing more clothes in the cold. Ethan turned his head. Kyler was sitting by a large planter near the entrance. He looked like he had been there for a while. Ethan asked why he was still there. Kyler replied with a question of his own. He frowned at Ethan. He took off his black scarf and wrapped it around Ethan's neck. It smelled of clean bergamot and held his warmth. Ethan looked at him, bewildered. Kyler spoke abruptly. He said he had already rejected that guy. He clarified that there was nothing between them. Ethan asked why he was telling him this. He looked down, feeling awkward. Kyler said he was just bored. He started walking away. After a few steps, he turned and glared at Ethan. He told him to hurry up before the dorms locked. Ethan quickly followed him. They walked in silence. Ethan could feel Kyler was still angry. He had ruined the birthday surprise Kyler prepared. He felt a lump in his throat. He didn't know how to explain. The silence stretched between them in the cold wind. It felt like a standoff. When they reached his dorm, he was about to open the door. A cool voice finally broke the silence. Kyler asked if he had anything to say. Ethan clutched his key tightly. The sharp edges dug into his palm. He didn't know what to say, or how to say it. He opened his mouth, but nothing came out. Kyler let out a soft scoff. He told him to forget it and get some rest. As he finished speaking, he pressed something into Ethan's hand. He turned and walked towards his own dorm at the end of the hall. Ethan looked down. It was a bottle of hangover relief tea. His heart, frozen like a winter river, began to thaw. Exam week started. He was busy with practice. His life became a simple routine between the music room and his dorm. Mr. Wallace called him. He told him to come home right after his exams. He forbade him from messing around. He had gotten Ethan's class schedule from his advisor. He wasn't allowed to do anything unrelated to his studies. If his GPA dropped, there would be consequences. Voice acting was his secret part-time job. Only doing what he loved made him feel free. In a corner unknown to his father, his rebellious spirit was growing. When exams ended, he didn't go home immediately. There was a university lacrosse tournament. He wanted to watch Kyler play. The venue wasn't crowded. Most students were either studying or had already left for break. He found an empty seat. Before the match, Kyler scanned the crowd. He saw Ethan and paused, surprised. Ethan nodded at him, wishing him luck. It was his first time watching a lacrosse game. He didn't really understand the rules. He just knew Kyler's movements were sharp and decisive. Each action was like a graceful combat maneuver. Kyler loved the sport. He always gave his all to the things he loved. In the first half, Kyler was on the defensive. But he remained calm, waiting for an opportunity. When he found one, he struck decisively. The moment he won, Ethan jumped up and applauded. Kyler was still the same Kyler, brave and resolute. Holding Kyler's scarf in his hand, Ethan felt his own heart race. Maybe it was time for him to be brave for what he loved too. After the match, Kyler changed and came to find him. He asked Ethan why he was there. He noted it was the first time Ethan had sought him out. Ethan praised his performance and invited him to dinner. Kyler's eyes lit up. He agreed immediately. They walked out of the stadium together. His phone was vibrating in his pocket. He glanced at the screen. It was Mr. Wallace calling. He silenced the call, pretending not to see it. Kyler was ecstatic. He chatted excitedly about the game and dinner plans. Felt like they were back in high school again. The sunlight was warm and perfect. The smile on Ethan's face faded. He saw the person standing at the school gate. His whole body went rigid. Mr. Wallace was staring at them with a furious expression. He had come to the school just because Ethan didn't come home right away. He didn't care that they were in public. He started scolding Ethan immediately. He accused him of being with Kyler. He berated him for his falling grades. He questioned his scholarship and graduate school prospects. Ethan listened in silence. He suddenly found his father's voice grating. As a child, he could understand his father's strictness. He thought it was for his own good. But forcing him to do things he hated wasn't for his own good. His father demanded to know how long he'd been hiding this. He yelled that Ethan was getting too rebellious. He grabbed Ethan's arm, trying to drag him home. Kyler frowned and stepped in. He told him that exams were over. A little relaxation was fine. Mr. Wallace told him to mind his own business. He tried to push Kyler away, but Kyler was too strong. Kyler's expression darkened. He held onto Ethan's arm. The two men were at a stalemate. Mr. Wallace had always disliked Kyler. Now he despised him. He remembered Kyler from high school. He accused him of corrupting his son. He called him a shameless homosexual. He threatened to report him to the university leadership. He wanted everyone to know about his improper conduct. He called him a menace to society. His voice was loud. Other students started to stare. The insulting words kept coming. Something inside Ethan snapped. A surge of anger washed over him. He pulled his arm free from his father's grip. He stood in front of Kyler. He told his father he had no right to speak to Kyler that way. He said Kyler wasn't a bad influence. He declared that his own orientation was the issue, not Kyler. Mr. Wallace was stunned. It was the first time Ethan had ever opposed him. His face turned purple with rage. He took several deep breaths. He asked if Ethan knew what he was saying. Ethan said he did. He was the kind of person his father detested. He liked men. He didn't want his father to insult Kyler. He told him to direct his anger at him. Mr. Wallace pointed a trembling finger at him. He accused him of rebelling. He ordered him to come home for punishment. Ethan refused. For the first time, his father's authority was challenged. He was furious. He asked again if Ethan was coming home. Kyler, shocked by the turn of events, gently tugged on Ethan's sleeve. Ethan grabbed his hand and held it tight. He intertwined their fingers in front of his father. He was gay, and it wasn't a disease. He loved Kyler and wanted to be with him. If his father couldn't accept it, this would be the last time he called him Dad. Mr. Wallace's eyes widened. His face turned a deep shade of crimson. He asked if Ethan was really choosing a man over his own father. He questioned if this was what he had taught him. He reminded him that he was his father. Ethan agreed but said before being a son, he wanted to be himself. He pulled Kyler away. He had finally done what he didn't dare to do 2 years ago. For 20 years, he had been trapped. He finally broke free from the cage built in the name of love. They arrived at a restaurant. Mr. Wallace hadn't followed them. He was probably too angry. Kyler looked at him in disbelief, still processing everything. Ethan asked if his father had scared him. Kyler said he thought Ethan was incredibly cool. His eyes shone brightly. He hugged Ethan and kissed him. He was amazed that Ethan came out to his family for him. He knew Ethan still liked him. Ethan's face flushed. He pushed him away gently. They were in public. Kyler was too excited. He held onto him tightly. He asked where his bold, runaway spirit had gone. He kept trying to kiss him. Ethan told him to stop. Kyler said he would be responsible for him. He kissed him again, his voice filled with affection. He stroked Ethan's hair. Ethan's ears were bright red. He realized how direct his words had been. Kyler was grinning like a fool. He led him into the restaurant. He told him to order anything he wanted. He served him food and mixed his dipping sauce. He took care of everything. During the meal, he told him funny stories about his team. Ethan knew he was trying to cheer him up. On the way back to the dorm, Kyler held his hand. He asked if Ethan would go home for the holidays. He offered his own home as an alternative. He said his parents knew he liked guys. They would be very welcoming. Ethan politely declined. Meeting the parents so soon was too much pressure. He would still go home. He needed to resolve things with his father. He wanted to be brave just like Kyler. The day he left, Kyler saw him off at the station. He held his hand, reluctant to let go. He complained about being separated so soon. He made Ethan promise to video call him every day. He also told Ethan to call him if he fought with his father. He offered to come and get him if needed. Kyler's eyes were full of worry. Ethan reassured him that he could handle it. He checked his watch. He had to go through security. Kyler demanded a kiss before he left. Ethan was embarrassed by the crowd. He tried to push him away, but Kyler held on. He gave him a quick peck on the corner of his mouth. A triumphant smile appeared on Kyler's face. He kissed him back deeply. People stared, but he didn't care. Ethan's face turned red. He waved goodbye and rushed into the station. He thought there would be another fight with his father. But the house was empty when he arrived. He learned his father had gone to his grandmother's. He hadn't returned. He sent a message, but got no reply. It seemed they were in a cold war. He tidied up his room and messaged Kyler. The producer of his audio drama, Sue, knew he was on break. She immediately sent him a new script. The tags were intriguing: dual male leads, possessive love, stepbrothers. He saw a letter H at the end. He assumed it was a typo and ignored it. Sue asked if he could finish it within a month. He said he would try. Her laughter on the phone sounded mischievous. Later, he read the full script. He was shocked. The content was incredibly deep. That night, he lay in bed, his face burning. He couldn't sleep, but he had already accepted the job. Breaking the contract would cost him. He spent a week recording, feeling challenged. One time, just after a session, his voice was still hoarse. Kyler called. He heard his voice and paused. He asked if it was a bad time. Ethan denied it. Kyler asked what he had been doing. Ethan lied about practicing singing. A low chuckle came from the other end. Kyler teased him about his poor excuse. He asked if Ethan was shy. He said he understood. He then made a suggestive comment. Ethan realized he had misunderstood. His ears burned. He tried to explain it wasn't what Kyler thought. He said he was practicing with someone else. Kyler's tone changed instantly. He demanded to know who this someone else was. He asked who the new lover was. Ethan tried to clarify, but Kyler was already worked up. He asked for his address. He said he was coming over to see for himself. Ethan couldn't help but laugh. He spent a long time calming Kyler down. He had to agree to change his profile picture to a matching one. He was afraid Kyler would actually show up, so he sent him one of his previous audio dramas. He thought that would clear things up. But the next morning, his phone was flooded with messages from Kyler. He said he couldn't sleep after listening to it. He told Ethan he had to take responsibility. He complained that Ethan used such a soft, pleading voice for others. He demanded Ethan say those things to him. He said he was really unable to sleep. He asked Ethan to coax him with that same voice. Ethan didn't message him all day. That evening, while he was recording, Kyler called. Kyler's mind had become more wicked after discovering his side job. He asked how many of these dramas Ethan had recorded. Ethan said 3 or 4. Kyler asked him to send them all. Ethan laughed, asking if he wasn't afraid of more sleepless nights. Kyler said he couldn't sleep without hearing his voice. He also admitted he found the content interesting. He cleared his throat, trying to hide his embarrassment. Ethan sensed something was off about his laugh. He told Kyler he was busy recording. Kyler asked him to say something in his character's voice. He wanted a very soft tone. Ethan felt a bit awkward. He needed to be in character for that. It was hard to do on the spot. Kyler pleaded, saying he wouldn't be able to sleep otherwise. After much persuasion, Ethan gave in. He softened his voice. He whispered, "Could you be gentler, big brother?" There was a long silence on the other end. For a moment, he thought the call had dropped. Then Kyler cursed under his breath. He asked if Ethan was trying to seduce him. He complained that he just asked for a simple line. Ethan quickly defended himself. He said it was just a random line. He didn't know that on the other end, Kyler's ears were completely red. His mind was racing. Kyler told him he would remember this. He promised to deal with him when school started. His voice was husky with desire. On New Year's Eve, Ethan bought some groceries. He wasn't a great cook and wasn't picky about food. He thought he would be spending the holiday alone. But his father came back that afternoon. He was carrying bags of groceries and decorations. They looked at each other. The atmosphere wasn't as tense as he expected. His father acted as if nothing had happened. He asked Ethan to help wash the vegetables. The house was quiet. The only sounds were running water and cooking. At the dinner table, his father remained silent. Ethan wished him a happy new year and raised his glass. His father glanced at him and drank his wine. Ethan served him some food. He had a lot to say but held back. Finally, he asked about his grandmother. His father put his glass down heavily. He said he came back because he was afraid Ethan would starve. He said his grandmother was fine and missed him. His tone was harsh, but he pushed the spinach and his signature braised fish towards Ethan. Ethan looked at the green vegetables. He finally summoned his courage. He told his father he hated spinach. He confessed it made him want to vomit. He had always forced it down to avoid being scolded. "Mr." Wallace paused. He stared into his soup bowl, lost in thought. Ethan braced for an outburst, but it never came. His father silently moved the spinach to his own plate. Family relationships were complex and awkward. Parents wanted the best for their children, but they often forgot to ask what their children actually wanted. His father was different today. Maybe his grandmother had spoken to him. She had always doted on him. For the rest of the break, his father didn't pressure him. He didn't ask about his grades. He didn't question him for coming home late. He stopped entering his room without permission. So he did know how to be a good parent. During the holidays, Kyler was very clingy. He always wanted to video chat. Sometimes his father would see. He would make sarcastic comments. But Ethan pretended not to care. After the Lantern Festival, school was about to start. His father drove him to the station. He handed him a bag of washed fruit. He still treated him like a child. Throughout the break, he hadn't mentioned Kyler. Ethan took it as a sign of tacit approval. His father watched him walk into the station. He waved. As he turned away, his back seemed a little more stooped. A ship is safest in the harbor. But that is not what ships are built for. He too was heading towards his own sea. Kyler met him at the station. They went back to the university together. The other roommates hadn't returned yet. Kyler helped him make his bed and unpack. Ethan was about to get him a glass of water. Kyler suddenly pulled him into a deep kiss. When he was out of breath, Kyler stroked his hair. He whispered in his ear, asking to be called Big Brother. Ethan called him a bastard. Kyler reminded him he had said it on the phone. He begged him to say it again. Ethan refused. Kyler was persistent. He bit his neck and held his waist. He left him no room to escape. In the end, Ethan gave in. He called him Big Brother several times before Kyler was satisfied. The new semester was busy. Kyler was also back to intense training. He sent Ethan interesting things whenever he had a spare moment. His desire to share was a form of romance. But Ethan's classes increased. He often missed Kyler's messages. He noticed something was off between his roommates, Liam and Thongyur. One day, he came back to find a bandage on Liam's neck. The two of them were silent all day. It seemed they had fought. Ethan wanted to help them reconcile. He knew Thongyur had a robotics competition coming up. He dragged Liam along to watch. Liam went backstage to talk to Thongyur. When he came back, his eyes were wet and his face was red. He was walking unsteadily. He looked like he had been bullied. Thongyur won first place. The whole dorm went out to celebrate. Liam and Thongyur were interacting normally at the table. Ethan was happy they had made up. Suddenly, a hand tapped on his table. He looked up and saw Kyler's dark eyes. Kyler told him to come outside. He seemed to have been drinking. His eyes were rimmed with red. He pulled Ethan into the hallway. He angrily asked why Ethan hadn't come to his match. Ethan was confused. He hadn't known about it. Kyler's expression darkened. He said he had sent a message. Ethan admitted he might have missed it. He awkwardly touched his nose. Kyler stared at him. It felt like the calm before a storm. Ethan subconsciously took a step back. He apologized and suggested they talk later. He tried to go back to his friends. Kyler quickly grabbed him. He asked where he thought he was going. He dragged him into the restroom. He accused him of being heartless. He was angry that he had watched someone else's competition. He said Ethan deserved to be punished for ignoring his messages. He kissed him fiercely. He pressed him against the door. His hand squeezed his waist. The atmosphere shifted. Ethan's eyes grew moist. He pushed at Kyler. He told him to stop. Kyler bit his neck. Ethan let out a soft moan. He begged him to stop messing around. Kyler chuckled lowly. He said Ethan's voice now was even more captivating than in his dramas. Ethan called him a bastard. This only seemed to encourage him. Kyler pinned him, making it impossible to move. Ethan suddenly felt something and froze. He asked if Kyler was crazy. He told him not here. Kyler told him not to move. He held his shoulders. The alcohol made his eyes burn with desire. This side of Kyler scared him a little. Footsteps approached from outside. It was Liam, looking for him. Liam called his name. Ethan tensed up. Kyler playfully bit his earlobe. Ethan glared at him. He didn't dare make a sound. Liam walked away after a moment. Ethan kicked Kyler. He just laughed wickedly. His breath was hot on his ear. Ethan was flushed and flustered. Kyler wanted to continue. Ethan quickly pushed him away. He said the restroom was too dirty. He told him not to be ridiculous. Kyler pinched his earlobe and nodded lazily. He agreed. He suggested they find another place. He then dragged Ethan away. He He didn't expect that other place to be a hotel. All night long, he lost count of how many times he called him Big Brother. Kyler even made him recite lines from his audio dramas. He was a complete pervert. The student club was recruiting new members. Ethan went to help. As he approached the activity room, he heard a loud crash. Someone yelled not to touch them. He heard Jason's voice. His heart skipped a beat. Was he in a fight? He tried the door. It was locked from the inside. The room went silent. A moment later, the door opened. The student council president walked out. He had a reputation for being stoic. Ethan gave him an awkward smile and a greeting. The president nodded and walked away. He noticed Jason's ears were red. His clothes were messy. He didn't seem to be hurt. Ethan wondered if he had prevented a fight. Other new members started to arrive. He and Jason set up the room. At the end of the day, he was exhausted. Kyler was waiting downstairs for him. He immediately told Kyler what happened. He felt something was off between Jason and the president. He said Jason had been acting weird all day. Kyler pinched his cheek. He told him to worry less about others. He wanted more of Ethan's attention on him. Ethan smiled. He called him a jealous man. Kyler just snorted and took him to dinner. It was evening when they left the cafeteria. Kyler held his hand as they walked. They stopped by an aquarium shop. The jellyfish Kyler had given him were still there. The shop was cool and quiet. He watched the two pale jellyfish drift in the tank. It was a soothing sight. Kyler presented the tank to him again. He said they were their sons. He told Ethan to take good care of them. Kyler's serious tone made him laugh. He picked up the tank to admire it. A soft blue light illuminated the jellyfish. It made them look even more dreamlike. It was a late birthday gift, but the outcome was the same. Through the glass, he and Kyler met each other's eyes and smiled. A wish from his youth had finally come true.